Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about future-proofing your talent, upskilling strategies for the AI era. I think we all know that a lot has been changing lately, and yeah, there's a lot of amazing developments happening right now, and a lot of scary stuff too. Like there's a lot of known unknowns and a lot of unknown unknowns, right? But we're going to go over some of those today. So that's me. I already got a lovely introduction. So that's me and my adorable family at the Oregon coast. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and skip that. We did bio stuff. So I had a poll question for you guys. I don't know if we got did we get polling set up or there we go. Yep. So check out polling on your Zoom. It should be question one. No, wait, sorry. Yes, question one, slide one. Has generative AI changed how you do your job? And you can tell me, give me your answer. You could select the closest one. It's not even the same job anymore. Yes, quite a lot. Yes, a bit. Hardly at all. Not at all. So if you, oh, I have to hit launch. Sorry, there we go. I hit launch. Did you guys see it now? Is it popping up for you? All right, there we go. We're getting answers rolling in. Okay, cool. Mostly, yes, quite a lot. Yes, a bit. We got one or two answers on hardly at all and not at all. I'm curious what those people are doing if they're in instructional design or something else, or maybe they just don't like using it. That's okay too. Not everybody is as excited about it as I am, and that's totally fair. But I figure the audience is probably skewed a little bit to the more interested in AI side. Just if you're here, it's probably what you're here for, right? So, awesome. So we got 61%, 62% at yes, quite a lot, 31% at yes, a bit, 2% at hardly at all, and 5% at not at all. And we didn't get any answers for it's not even the same job anymore. So things haven't transformed entirely, right? I feel like that's reasonably good news. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll there and we'll head on. So, briefly, what I'm going to cover today is, we're going to look at how skill needs are shifting. Briefly review the capabilities of agentic AI because I feel like that is extremely groundbreaking. And unless you're really into things right now, you may not know about agentic AI yet. You might. If you do, that's awesome. You're ahead of most. Then we're going to map skill shifts through a little guided reflection activity that we'll pull up on Miro. And then we'll identify some practical ways to adapt your organization's learning strategy. And I want you to leave with actionable steps you can take immediately after the webinar and start, making a plan for how to address these shifts in the workplace. Okay. So how is AI reshaping the workforce? I've dug up a bunch of research. I also had ChatGPT help me dig up a bunch of research and summarize some of this for me. So just in all complete transparency, 1 in 3 core job skills expected to change by the World Economic Forum. That was 2023. I'm not really sure that that's accurate anymore. I think 1 in 4 job skills have already changed. At least in my world, they have. But that's definitely different in different roles. But I think that it's going to be much sooner. Automation is replacing tasks, not roles, but roles are evolving. I'm not even sure that I agree with that, and we'll get into it. This is just what the summary of the research that's out there right now, right? Not being done right now, but already completed. So I don't even think that it can keep up with the pace of change. But we do know that human AI collaboration is now a required competency across industries. And interestingly, I was just reading or watching this video. I don't know if you guys follow Diary of a CEO, but he is a phenomenal speaker, incredibly smart guy, interviews some of the most brilliant and amazing people in the world. They're long, they're like an hour or longer each, but his stuff is great. This is another channel of his where it's a little bit of a clickbait title, but he kind of goes into how some of the CEOs out there right now, two of the companies he talks about here is Shopify and Fiverr, that you guys are probably familiar with. They put out memos to their staff that they now have to prove that certain skills or roles cannot be done with AI before they can put in a request to hire somebody. So that means that AI is literally replacing jobs, right? So that's really interesting. If you want to go look at the full video, it's pretty incredible. That channel is a little bit more sensational than his usual channel, but you can go and find that full video there at the tiny URL if you want to. Now I want to open up the next poll question. Let's see. Just kind of getting a sense of how do you guys use generative AI? I don't know why I can't launch that one. I stop sharing that poll. Okay, now I can only do one at a time. There we go. All right. So with generative AI, do you save time with your existing um use hmm? I think I had a typo in there or something, or miscopied. Do you save time? Do you create better quality work? Do you explore new concepts that you might not otherwise? Do you gain insight from different possible perspectives, or get frustrated often? And just choose the one that you feel like most commonly applies. I think that probably should have been a multiple response or select. Yeah, select more than one. Yep, yep. But just choose the one that you feel like best applies, I suppose. Cool. All right. Some really interesting results. It's kind of across the board a little bit. All right, cool. We've got 20-ish% saying they save time, 30-ish% saying they create better quality work, 15% ish that says they explore new concepts, 25% ish gain insight. These numbers are kind of fluctuating as things come in. And 5% get frustrated often. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Explore new concepts. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun one for me. I like doing that with ChatGPT. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the poll and share the results, and we're gonna move on. So thank you guys for sharing. So I wanted to originally I didn't have this in this presentation, and then I kind of added it in because I feel like it's so critical to this conversation. AI agents will change everything. If you don't know about it now, you will very shortly. Agentic AI is really, I mean, it's groundbreaking. So I want to talk a little bit about how that's different from generative AI. So, generative AI completes a single task. It can generate text, images. It receives an input, generates an output. Agentic AI is like a person using AI. And what I mean by that is it can perform multiple tasks. It can interact with other software, can interact with multiple tools, and it can use reasoning and decision making to decide which next steps to take and execute on those steps. So essentially, they're entire software programs, right? So an agentic AI might, in let's say like an onboarding setting, might automatically schedule training sessions, send reminders, answer questions about company policies, and it might adjust the learning path or courses that an employee should take based on how they perform. And it can do all of this without a human being needing to interact or intervene in these steps. So that's just an example. If you want to watch more on agent or AI agents, that video at the tiny URL, you can type that in, and that's a good start. If you just like are overwhelmed and just need a place to start, that's probably a good kind of overview video of what agentic AI is. And now I want to show you really quickly just this, like it's less than a minute, this video of an example of Perplexity is a tool you can go sign up for right now and go play around with if you like. I believe there's a free version or a free trial if you want to check that out. But um, let's go ahead and just watch this quick clip that I cut down.
I want to do this like, 8-minute ad.
Oh.
But I want to make it almost like a short
Sorry.
film because I think that if I do that, it would get a lot of views online. But I don't want to spend $100,000 on a video agency to do it. So I say, make a story about a 24-year-old McDonald's employee who finds an idea there and changes their life. And I say, create 6 storyboards and a full screenplay. Protagonist profile, Maya Chen, who's 24 years old. Maya embodies the reality that 1 in 8 Americans have worked at McDonald's, with 70% of employees learning transferable skills. So it does some background information. It creates the character. And then this is what really blows me away. Look at this sketch.
What? Yeah. So, if you're not following what's happening here, he asked this tool to create a storyboard for an 8-minute promo video for this business concept that he has. Um, and it went, and if you continue the video, you can see that there's images for each scene in this same little sketch style. It's got step-by-step sequences. It's got, I mean, like everything. Everything is in there. It's a complete storyboard from start to finish. No copy paste, no multiple tools, not a human being going back and forth between these different things and putting them together. So it's an AI agent that is using multiple different kinds of AI essentially to create generative AI to create an output. And that's just one tiny example, right? But go ahead and check out Perplexity. I actually haven't even had time to play with it yet, so I need to really dig in and find out all of its capabilities on my own. But there's so many tools out there; it's hard to keep up. I'm not gonna lie.
I want to.
So I'm gonna just bring up the last poll question. Oh, there's the results of the previous one. Now I'm gonna launch the last one. Have you or someone you know been impacted by a layoff or role change related to AI or AI-driven business transformation? Wow, that's kind of some surprising numbers. That's really interesting. So we're getting a lot of only in headlines. Right now it's sitting at about 85%. Okay. Couple of yes, someone I know, a couple of no, but I know people who know people. Um, but the two extremes are getting zero responses. So nobody personally has been laid off. I'm glad for you guys. It's wonderful. I'm very glad you have not been impacted. And zero that try to block out the news. And all right, that's great. That's good. I feel like uh yeah, that's so we're at about 8% of someone I know, 10% of I know people who know people, and 80% of only in headlines. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll now. There we go. Okay, so moving on. So what is happening right now? I know that you guys clearly you guys are following the news. And it's a lot. There are job cuts. Microsoft is constantly in the news about layoffs, tech layoffs. It's a better programmer than me. Amazon had a bunch of layoffs. It's just, I mean, it's never ending. I don't know. Maybe it's just too much in my feed, but it's all over. And it's happening, right? We can see this. And yeah, I colored the text red on those but just to drive it home. But wow, like the headlines, man, around this are so fear-mongering. Bloodbath, massacre. You see those kinds of words like to sensationalize this very regularly. But it's a lot. There are, hundreds of thousands of people that are being impacted by this right now. All right. Yeah, I saw Klarna, Duolingo have already started rehiring people. Yeah. And that's awesome. That's wonderful news because, I think some businesses definitely had a knee-jerk reaction and just laid off people, assuming things could actually work and maybe found out later that, oh, it can't really do everything a human being can do. Um, and so yeah. Well, we'll see. Whatever the reasons are, but what can we do about it, right? We do know that there are changes happening in our organizations as a result of AI making its way into the workforce and kind of our daily tasks. And so, what do we do, right? We need to address this somehow, and clearly, the news knows it, businesses know it, our research, the big research firms know it, and it's happening, right? People are looking at how do we address this change, and that's kind of the whole point of today's presentation, right? What do all of these articles say? So AI is transforming job roles, not just automating tasks. Role-based personalized learning is more effective than generic training. I think we already know these things, right? Like we yeah, in the training world, we know, right? Personalized learning is always better than generic training. Continuous in the flow learning is now essential for workforce agility. And this is where I think it starts to get to where businesses can do more, right? We've been neglecting a lot of these essential truths about learning, about training, about workforce development that now it starts to get into the meat is places that we can do better, right? Is that continuous in the flow of work learning. Strategic workforce planning to help align upskilling with future business needs. So that proactive anticipation of how might I need to drive my business's training initiatives in order to address these future needs. That's an area that I think is slower to catch up. And finally, L&D must tie skill development directly to measurable business outcomes. And that's something I feel like gets talked about a lot in the training world. I mean, we've had, Kathy Moore's book, Action Mapping, has been out for, 10 plus years, I think, and more. And most businesses still don't use action mapping, very, very rarely, unfortunately. So, the changing landscape of these essential skills. So, we know that routine tasks are being automated. So, kind of, emails and chatbot conversations, customer service, kind of even, sending out reminders, those kinds of things have been kind of automated for a little while now. And the types of tasks that are being automated are increasing, right? There's more and more being automated. Demand is rising for AI adjacent and higher order skills like analytical thinking and adaptability. So my guess is that those organizations that are rehiring, they're looking for people with flexibility, right? Adaptability and analytical thinking, critical thinking skills, so that when they are using AI, they're using it responsibly, they're using it smart, right? Roles are transforming as people shift to managing AI tools. So I think it was Zolt Ola who on LinkedIn talked about once how Instructional design jobs are transforming a little bit to more of a producer style role where we're kind of managing the production of training through the use of all these different tools, more so than we are like really designing and developing. It is those things, but it's kind of more than that. As our jobs kind of shift and change, I'm interested to know what you guys think about that. Do you feel like a learning producer sometimes? Because I definitely feel like my role is more like that now. So I'm curious to know what you guys have experienced. So L&D must help workers transition from fading skills to emerging ones, right? So that kind of brings us to strategy. What do we do about it, right? We've talked about all the things that have changed, and are changing and are going to continue to change, but how do we create a strategy around a moving target, right? And there's some things we already know about that we could do. Move from static course catalogs to dynamic role-based training. So kind of really identifying where those skill shifts are happening and supporting that transition. Aligning learning goals with measurable outcomes. Um, I work for like an agency style company, we do custom content development, nothing off the shelf. So we work directly with businesses on specific training needs. And I can I can't tell you how mind-bogglingly uncommon it is for businesses to measure. And it's, I mean, for some reason they just don't. Like a lot of businesses don't have, they just don't set in place through their LMS or even, the step of building out their training or designing their training around measurable outcomes the measurements aren't there, so that's just not done, and that to me is like the first thing that any like training department should look at first is what are you measuring, how are you measuring it, and what else can you measure, right? That will be valuable information, and what can you do with that information. Use AI driven skill mapping platforms. So there's a bunch of tools out there that you can use. There's also probably AI features that are being rolled out in your current tools, right? Even Articulate now has included a bunch of AI tools in their little kind of add on package. Most LMS platforms are rolling out some forms of AI features that you can start digging into and learn about and implement and find out how they're going to drive value in your organization. So embed learning into workflows for continual development. And this is, again, something that I mentioned in the last slide that is a huge opportunity. And it feels very nebulous, but it's actually something that you can do very actionably. Like you just need to know where do you need to make that effort, right? Is it sending a regular newsletter to your employees with little opportunities for learning? Is it identifying where pain points happen in a particular process that might be alleviated by training? So a lot of this comes down to what we're going to see later, is communication, right? So getting in touch with different parts of the business. But first, let's go check out that activity. So you can open it. You can open up the Miro board on with that QR code, or you can use the tiny URL and type that in. I will go ahead and put that in the chat. .com/GPSC feature. So hopefully that works for everybody. No, it did not work. Okay, let me delete that one. Sorry guys. Let me drop a new link in the chat, but if you have it open already, you can zoom in. It probably will start pretty far out. Here, we'll bring this up over here. Boop. And I will go ahead and share, copy the guest link. All right, so now that link is in the chat there. You can go ahead and join. Let me know if it doesn't work for you. Somebody can just drop in the chat. So use your right mouse button to click and drag around, and you can just edit any of those response boxes. So if you see right here, what skill is losing relevance in your team or function? And let's say like, right, maybe customer resp email responses might be one, might be like cold sales emails might be another. You can go ahead and yeah, go ahead and click around, change your responses as they apply to you. Clearly some of these elements I should have locked. Let's see, how can I do that? Dupe. We'll just lock that guy. All right. So yeah, let's see. What else are we getting here? Hmm? I see a lot of people clicking around, so but no responses quite yet. Data entry, that's a good one. Great. Great, great. So as far as skills becoming less important, I would say even things like grammar and spelling, right? I mean, I think people used to, really get dinged if they had some spelling or grammar or capitalization or punctuation errors on their resume or something, or in a cover letter. And I feel like that's just not really much of an issue anymore because we have so many tools to help us with that, Grammarly, etc. Um, let's see. What about skills becoming more critical? I think we talked a little bit about critical thinking. Um, I'll put that one in there. Critical thinking, maybe even proofreading. Um, because there is that, the reality that AI is not quite accurate all the time, or maybe it just says things a little bit awkwardly. It's asking for a password. It shouldn't. Let me try a different link. Okay. Um, oh, it's done. Oh, you got in there. Okay, good. Thanks, Hitesh. Sorry about that. Um, all right. Change management and adapting to new technology. That's awesome. That's a great one. Not being gullible. Yeah, because yeah, it sometimes gives some funky stuff. I regularly have to tell it to not reference learning styles, which I as was kind of debunked a number of years ago. But it's still even taught in universities. So there's a lot of really credible sources for incredible information, unfortunately, and you can't really be too sure where it's pulling from, right? So we got coding and prompt engineering. Um, yeah, platform automation, even just being able to use those tools. Yep, understanding automation, what can be automated, I think is huge. I don't think a lot of people are really there yet, or, at least depends on how far in the tech world you are, but I find it a little bit rare. So the resulting learning need or gap. So this bottom left one, this is kind of like the critical box, right? That's the critical one right there. So AI literacy, understanding risks and limitations. I think that's absolutely, absolutely true. Um, Specialty in youth and top posts with middle-aged people. Oh, especially in youth and okay, so you're saying that there's maybe some generational knowledge gaps as well, right? Yeah, I think that's definitely worth calling out. We there's varying levels of, even just basic tech literacy. And then over here, this right side, desired measurable outcome. So most employers want productivity, more work and less time. No one seems to care about quality. And that's an interesting thing because I see a lot of, at least in social media and influencers who talk about AI. I see a lot of people talking about like, oh, there's just all this like AI generated crap being churned out constantly, and it's just all the same thing, and everybody's posting the same style stuff on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Twitter and Blue Sky and whatever. And I think that that's very temporary. I think that people are getting better at tuning out that noise and kind of ignoring that like generic, like, there's another ChatGPT post. That content I think is starting to get ignored, and the algorithm will pick up on that. And I think that we're gonna see it's gonna get worse before it gets better, if that makes sense. That's my opinion on it. But I do see that like people who care about putting out good content, people who care about putting out quality training and learning experiences, they're not gonna let this just turn them into a factory, right? Some people will because that's just the reality of it, right? It's an opportunity to make more money in less time. And some people will take advantage of that. For me, I feel like I have the opportunity to make higher quality stuff in the same amount of time. And that's the way I look at it. I'm not trying to save time. I'm trying to do better work. And that's where I feel like you really should be focusing your effort using generative AI because more isn't always better, right? All right. Awesome. Awesome. We've got some really good stuff here. So, got digital competence and skills becoming more critical. Soft skills in general. Thank you to whoever put that on there. I think that's huge. Soft skills are definitely something that businesses are calling out as getting neglected actually in this like obsession with AI and technology and efficiency and you know, becoming leaner and doing more with less. And I think that soft skills are definitely something that are being asked for, and becoming more critical for sure. Voiceover recording as skills becoming less important. Yeah, I unfortunately I sympathize with the people who built their livelihood around being a voice actor, and some of them will never lose their job because they are like the brand voice or something. And there's certain things, Well Said Labs and such can't do quite yet. Although I love Well Said Labs, I use them all the time, and it's getting better and better. But I there is something to be said for that human touch. So. Yeah. Searching for scientific evidence. That's an interesting one. And just be careful with that because it's not always credible. And even if I found pretty often, even if you ask ChatGPT for to cite sources, sometimes those sources are made up, and sometimes those sources aren't what it says they are. Like it says, oh, I found this information from this source. And if you go to that source, it's sometimes like a completely different study on something that might be tangentially related, but doesn't actually have the information in it that it's sourcing. So I would be very careful with that. Yeah, just do your due diligence. Don't trust it, or rather, what is the the military phrase, trust but verify. I don't think they say that anymore. But maybe now I think it's just verify now. So it's just verify. Okay, cool. This is awesome. This is awesome. E-skills, generative AI. Yep. Understanding the big picture in the company vision. I think that's also increasingly more important. And that's kind of the part of where businesses talk about the culture fit, right? Um, yeah, okay. Desire measurable outcomes. I want to come back to this one at the bottom here. So performance, quick work, behavior changes. Yep. Reaction to change can be gauged using culture surveys. Yep. Um, yeah, and I would say even, this is going to be really dependent on what is your, like, what business, uh, like segment are you looking at, right? What departments are you looking at? What roles are you looking at? How do they measure their productivity to begin with, right? Is it number of customer service complaints converted to a positive? Is it, repairs to, you know, energy grid equipment done, in less time, or fewer outages? Or is it, sales conversions, or you know, there's just it's really limitless what can go in here, and it's going to really depend on what your business um does, right? What is your industry? So this is awesome. This is awesome. Great job, guys. I'm gonna go back and share the presentation again. You can continue adding in your notes in that Miro board if you like. Had to take a drink. I'm a little hoarse, talking too much. All right. So, oh, we already kind of discussed that's what that was. So what's the implication of this skills shift and these things happening, right? Um, skills shifts need to drive our learning priorities. This is something we businesses cannot afford to just wait and see what happens on this. It's that those are the ones that will not be successful in the future. L&D needs to act as a strategic partner and not a silo. And I think what happens a lot of the time is that we get so into our own world. Well, this is my part of the business. This is my department of the organization, and I have all of this work to do, and it's my work. That's not the point of L&D, right? We are really like, at least internal L&D, you're there to support the entire organization. You need to be talking to the organization, right? You can't do that if you don't know what everyone's doing. If you don't know what their needs are, how are you going to address them, right? So start building those relationships. Proactivity matters. Again, the businesses who wait on this, they're not going to be successful. Um, when problems do become obvious, they will already be expensive. And measurement needs to reflect business value. So, that's part of understand what's being measured, what can be measured, and how do you track that, um, in a measurable way, and tie your learning initiatives into your business KPIs. So what can you do about it now? So, you can start with that worksheet. And just make something up like that for your organization, and or go to the Miro board and take a snapshot and recreate that, and or adjust it. But that's a good starting point. Identify where AI roles are likely to change. So start with the 2 to 3 business functions that are most exposed to automation or augmentation. So where in the business, in your business right now, has the roles most changed already due to AI? And that might even be your training department, right? So you could use yourself as a case study. Use interviews, job shadowing, AI readiness assessments to spot at-risk tasks. So start, and that's that reaching out, right? Developing those relationships, going out and talking to different parts of the business, and determining like, where is this change happening, and at least pinpoint it, right? Be able to set your target. All right. Partner with business leaders to define future ready. So talk to your leadership, like figure out how can I shift my organization's training efforts um, a to something actionable, to something that's going to be in line with where they see the future of the business going. So again, that's talking to people. You got to get out there, make friends with your business leaders, make friends with your department leads, with your managers across the organization, start talking to people and figuring out, how is AI being used? How can you support that transition? Where are skills changing and needs changing? And even large scale business efforts, some people are completely shifting and their department, is now focused on a whole different set of products or tools. So identifying where those changes are happening and at least getting in on that conversation, making a seat for yourself at that table, that's going to be your first step, right? Build short role-based learning paths. So focus on just enough, just in time, not all the training for everybody, because everybody doesn't need all the training and they really don't have time for that, right? Um, Prioritize the skills that are going to create the most value in those positions and talk about that with those business leaders, with those department leads. Find out what they're doing and how they're doing it and where their pain points are and how you can support that. So introduce AI into your own L&D processes. So walk the walk, right? Know how these tools work. Know how what you can do with them, and that doesn't mean that you need to go out and sign up for everything and play with every new AI tool that comes across your inbox. But do a little bit of research. You can even use ChatGPT to do this research, right? Like, tell me about some tools, some AI tools that can help my business productivity, and then ask me questions to help me find out what that is, or didn't really wordsmith that very well, but hopefully you get the idea. Ask ChatGPT to interview you to determine what tools might best support your workflow. And start figuring out, how can I automate those low value tasks, like using Firefly to summarize your meeting notes, or automated captioning. I think Will Said Labs even does, CC's export now. Or even automatically tagging content. So there are AI tools out there where, you can have it create keywords and descriptions and all of that for your different courses. So, you don't have to go in and do that for each course in your LMS in those categories. So there's a ton. The list is just endless. So, but have it interview you and figure out where you can get started on some of that, because a little bit, it's going to take some upfront work, right? You need to spend some time to figure out how you can save time. But once you set those systems up in place, it's going to transform how you work. It's going to transform your time, right? You're no longer spending 20 minutes every week on that task. You might have spent 20 minutes one week to set up the automation, or maybe 40 minutes. But then it's going to do that task for you automatically for the next, you know, 52 weeks. Then it's done. You don't need, you're saving an exponential amount of time. Track impact, not just completions. So start with one program, start with one business area, define a clear business outcome, a measurable goal, and track it using whatever tools you have available to for analytics. And if you have an LMS, you have tools for analytics. And you probably have others. They're there. Use AI tools to measure behavior change, tool adoption, time to skill. So if you have the capability of monitoring, usage data from a new AI tool rollout, so say your business has a custom homebrew version of ChatGPT or Copilot that it uses, you probably have the ability to track some of that usage data. And if not, like, again, you can put out surveys on that kind of thing. Like, how do you use it? How often do you use it? How long would you say your average session are? What are some challenges you encounter using it? And then you're able to get more kind of information out of people, even without that automation. It's possible. We used to do it once upon a time with like pen and paper. Um, all right. And so just to recap, um, identify where AI will likely change roles, partner with business leaders to define what future ready is, what their goals are, build learning paths, identify, where you want people to go, what you want people to learn, but how those role-based learning paths support not just ongoing development in that role, but also that future readiness, that tech uh, competency. So, and then, introduce AI into your own L&D processes, learn how to use these tools and where they might, be able to create business value and track the impact, not just completions. So tie your learning into, business KPIs and measurable goals. Okay. So again, your immediate next steps, just to kind of summarize it differently, break down those silos, start getting in touch with your uh, business leaders across your organization, talk to HR, talk to IT, talk to operations. Um, if you know anybody personally, start there and then ask them, like, hey, talk to your boss and say, who should I talk to about this? I want to be sure that we're bringing our business along and not falling behind on this. So, who do we talk to? Who's thinking about it? Who's already talking to about it? So you use your network, your internal network, and strengthen that network. Use skill data. So find out what's being measured or what has been measured or what you can measure that would be valuable. And find out from those connections that you make, what what are we putting numbers on right now? And lastly, define success. Know where your goal is, even if it's a moving target, even if it's a moving goal, and it's maybe something a little bit more nebulous, but you do want measurable outcomes. You want business impact that's going to drive value that you're going to be able to measure and say, look, we changed these numbers. We brought people on that were more prepared. We had fewer turnover. We had less turnover. We had happier employees. We had more productive employees. We had higher sales. We had higher conversion. Whatever those outcomes look like for your business, put them down, right? You need to know where you're trying to get to.